very much for those who spoke tonight. Appreciate it. That does take us to our next part, which is our school student advisor, Sarah Grover, who's here. If you'll just pause long enough to get the streaming started back up, they'll give us the high sign. We're good. Very good. Thanks for coming, Sarah. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Good evening, everyone, once again. I just want to say this is like a really tough act to follow everything that's gone on so far. Mr. Buffum, I just want to say thank you so much. Your speech was beautiful. I was tearing up. And if it makes you feel any better, you mentioned the tours of the students. I actually gave you it in 9th grade, if you remember.
I do remember. Yeah.
That was before I even knew you, so I can say I have a memory with the board in school.
I always say I have the best guides.
Yep.
So,
I'm glad.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get started. So although the school year has come to an end at FHS, some might go as far to say that this week is the busiest week yet. Regents exams, summer jobs full speed ahead, senior bash, and graduation. Feelings of reminiscence and excitement for the future reside within the minds of many students during the sunny first week of summer. So I mentioned the Regents exams. They began last Tuesday, the 14th, following our last day of school on Monday. They will continue throughout this week and will end on Thursday. Exams take place in the high school gym. Students with testing modifications are placed in alternate locations, including several classrooms in the library. Continuing on, Senior Bash was a complete success. I know you mentioned a little bit about it, but it was held at the Parrington Rec Center, where they utilized the entire facility. It was Hawaiian themed, leis were provided for all the students, and there was plenty of food provided, including pizza, festive smoothies, fruit, candy, etc. There was swimming in the lazy river and water slide rides, fun on the iceberg in the pool area, basketball, volleyball, cornhole, beach games, and inflatables in the gym. And the night ended with the hypnosis show outside on center stage, which I heard was a big hit. From what I've heard, it was one of the seniors' favorite times they've spent together in their entire school career. Another memory that will soon be made for the class of 2022 is obviously graduation. It will be held at the Blue Cross Arena on Thursday night, June 23rd. Personally, I'm very excited to attend and help out with the National Honor Society in passing out programs, and to see all of my senior peers finally cross their finish line. If any of you are interested, I'd love to see you there. One last but not least piece of exciting news I would absolutely have to mention is the immense progress made on the new cafeteria and the turf fields. I speak for all students currently at FHS and those who will be here in the future when I say thank you to all who have aided in the process of updating our facilities. Although this year we were patiently awaiting the sparkly new additions, it was without a doubt worth every second. Mr. Clark actually brought my English class through the cafeteria a few weeks ago to give us a sneak peek, and it was absolutely beautiful. It's better than anything I could have ever imagined. If you get the chance to check it out, you really should. I mean, I know it's going to be ready in the fall, but it's pretty cool now, too. It's like a whole new world in there, and for the turf fields, they're absolutely amazing. They're multi-purpose and can be utilized for several sports, and the general look and feel is soft, sleek, and modern. We are so excited to put these areas to use next year. And I just want to say thank you all for being here tonight. It's always a pleasure to bring you these updates on the school that I will forever call home. And again, thank you to the board for all that you guys do. I hope to see you next time. Everyone have a wonderful evening and a wonderful summer.
Thanks, Sarah. Hope you have a wonderful summer, and we will see you next year with, again, those facilities, many of them open, but construction will continue right, in other areas. But thank you so much. It's been great to have you this year. We look forward to you being our advisor for another year.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
To the president's report, I'll keep it short because those are all tough acts to follow. But one of the thoughts on my mind since our last school board meeting is we've had 3 holidays and about to have a 4th, right? It was, we had Memorial Day, Flag Day, not quite sure that's a holiday, but Juneteenth, and then July 4th. I thought, I love those 4 being together for what they represent, and they were represented in the comments that were made tonight and the successes that people have, the individual choices that people can make in this country. In the meantime, we also had a student protest that happened here at the school after the Uvalde events. Those students who feel vulnerable, concerned about their own safety, decided to host a walkout. And although there's probably was a day and age where that would have been opposed by this, I don't know, not by this board, but by boards in general, historically and other places, it is not here. Finding a great and safe place for our students to cut their teeth on, learning how to petition their government officials, right? To talk to them, let them know of their concerns. And I, for one, will defend night and day anybody's right to do that, to assemble, to petition their government, because those who would trample the rights of one will definitely trample the rights of another. And so whether I agree with you or not, I'm really grateful that they took that opportunity, again, showing the way. And what I hope here was a very safe environment for them, but just so glad because it represented everything in those holidays that we have. And I was glad the students took advantage of that to say, hey, something needs to change. We don't feel safe. And it's a good message for us as a school board too, right? In terms of what do we do? Yes, I agree behind the scenes, but our job is to make it a safe place so that learning is maximized. And Damon, I think you've done a great job of helping us do that. If I can, I hope, Mr. Clark, you don't mind borrowing a little bit from one of your weekly letters as well, just to finish the year. We are finishing the year, but some of the highlights there, on top of everything that's been tonight, you mentioned 600 students recognized throughout the year for showing, right, various acts of kindness and the qualities of care of the DASA students. And I just thought, wow, what a tremendous thing to point out, that over the course of the year, I don't know how they're recognized, whether it's by peers or staff or whatever, but to say, hey, an act of kindness, right? Those things that are important so that people recognize that kindness is recognized, that it's appreciated. The smiles, the opening the doors, and whatever it might be to help another student feel that they have support. So thank you for pointing that out in that letter home. And then just to the community, as always, Dollars for Scholars. This was in your letter as well, but 81 students awarded over $81,000. I think I say it every meeting. I'm just astounded by the giving in this community, the fundraising that takes place, but that's $81,000 that was fundraised in this community on top of the other hundreds of thousands we've talked about throughout the year, which doesn't count then the taxes that you're going to get. That's not quite fundraising in the sorts, if you will. It's a bill with a stick and other things behind it. But on top of all that, our community is so willing to give in other ways too, and so appreciate that. So congratulations, everybody. I'm looking forward so much to graduation on Thursday, to being there with all of you board members, or most of you, and hopefully many members of the community. So that's all that I have. I don't know if there's much to talk about from committees. I know the Monroe County School Board committees have ended in April, right? So nothing that there. And so unless anybody else wants to chime in on something, I will hand it off to Brett for the superintendent's report. No, nothing. Okay, Mr. Provenzano.
Wow, these are all tough acts to follow. In Fairport, we talk about civility, awareness, respect, embracing differences. We celebrate it. It's been on showcase throughout the year, but also at the end of the year. And I'm really proud of all the wonderful events, from field days to paloozas to celebrations of learning, award ceremonies. Sarah said it wonderfully. I wish this picture was up. I wish she did my presentation, because she said it perfectly, of the joy and wonder that's occurring in our school. The performing arts are alive and well. I think for the past month, our auditoriums were used throughout the entire district, and just great to see everybody. But behind all those events, we recognize our staff. Behind every great experience is an amazing, passionate Fairport educator who donates so much of their time and gives a little bit of themselves so students could have a better experience. And this year we're going to be celebrating and honoring over 30 retirees, and this is a little tribute to them. Another school year has now come and gone in Fairport. An extraordinary year of growth, learning, challenges, and celebrations. As the final students wave goodbye for the summer break, we turn our grateful hearts toward you, our retiring Fairport educators. From the small acts of kindness
with biggest acts of grace. Our staff are there for many of the most formative moments of our students' lives. Your service to the district can't always be quantified, but it sure can be measured in the countless lives changed and enriched, in acts of selfless service, and in the greater lessons learned. We thank you for being a part of the rich and storied legacy and traditions of excellence in our schools. You have forever left your imprint on the lives of our students, their families, and of course, your colleagues. Thank you for your service, and congratulations.
Whether you're retiring from JA or one of our other buildings, we hope you take away that each and every day you made a difference. No matter the role you played or the support you provided, that your time, contact, connections, and love for children truly made a difference and will make a difference in their futures. So know that, it's cliche in Fairport to say, make a difference, but truly, you made a difference every single day.
I hope our retirees take away good memories of time spent with students and colleagues.
I think first and foremost, I just would say thank you. Thank you so much for adding to the culture here. Thank you so much for showing up every day and giving your very best and doing everything you did for our kids. And, going back to that saying, please know you're always welcome. And, again, that we will miss you. I'm sure you won't miss getting up that early in the morning anymore. Your days will be yours again. But please know you'll forever be welcome here. And we're so thankful for everything that you did.
Once a Raider, always a Raider. To our retirees, some of you have been here for so long. You might have gone to school here. You might have raised your family here. You might have joined Fairport as an adult like I did. No matter how long you've been here, whether you remain in the community now or you go out to other places beyond, we hope you come back and visit. Remember that you're always part of the Fairport family. Once a Raider, always a Raider.
I hope that they realize how many lives that they've touched, how many people that they've influenced, and how far-reaching their touch really is. They impact staff, students, families, and they need to know how incredible they have been and will continue to be even after they leave.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brett, for remembering our retirees. And all those, perhaps sometimes I make a teasing comment to our Assistant Superintendent for Business and all the gratitude and things behind the scenes, speaking of which, an excellent team of payroll clerks, account payable clerks, bookkeepers, and whatever, finance. All of that contributing to, again, everything we've celebrated so far tonight, the way that the lifeblood is dollars and cents. So, Mr. Stevens, if you don't mind giving us a treasure and investment update, we'd appreciate that.
Great. Thank you. Good evening. Tonight we have the treasure and investment update for the month of April of 2022. We had a beginning cash balance in the general fund of $83.4 million, receipts in the month of $1.2 million, disbursements of $10 million for an ending cash balance of $74.5 million. Approximately 73.8 of the 74.5 is invested in a mix of cash, insured cash sweep, T-bills, and money market, which is about 99% of the overall dollar amount. As it relates to last year, very similar in terms of the trending through April. We'll start to see, as you can see here, expenses are exceeding revenues for the most part. As we end through our year end after tax collection, we do have some state aid payments left, but primarily as we approach year end, our expenses tend to exceed the revenues during the months as we close out the year. Thank you.
Hey, Matt, I have to take a couple of shots now because I'm not going to have another chance, right? I'm curious, any impact on the district with the rising federal rate?
In terms of?
The Fed keeps on raising rates. they raised it 75 basis points last week. Does that have any impact on finances for the district at all? I know mortgage rates have gone up quite a bit, so.
Yeah, I mean, it could impact, different pieces that the district works in regarding borrowings, and then our rate of return on investments. So those are the two large pieces that we work with as the Fed adjusts the Fed funds rate overall.
Right.
But those are primarily the areas that we would see. So as we see funds come back for
What's
increased.
our credit rating?
Oh gosh, off the top of my head, I don't know. It's a great credit rating. I do know that.
All right.
Yep.
Great. Okay. All right.
And I think
Sorry.
He'll never say it.
I think it's safe to say we probably under budgeted for interest earnings for next year based on the rapid rise in rates, but that's okay because we're going to need it for the inflationary side of things regardless. And
Correct.
yeah, so thank you for doing a good job in that area. We appreciate it. Questions or comments? Because when we get into the consent calendar, we do not discuss, that's just Robert's Rules of Order. Those items in that area are not discussed. So if you have a question before consent calendar.
I don't
now's
have a
the time.
question. I was just going to comment that when Matt said, as you can see there, if you are home or if you want to look on your own, the Treasury report is right here. So it is public, so you can take a look at it on your own if you want to.
Right, within the consent calendar area.
Yep.
Item 4, right?
Yep, item 4. Just
4C. Thank you.
and now I'm done.
And so in the consent calendar, we have several items for under single approval. I need a motion to approve unless somebody wanted to have any of them removed from the consent for further discussion. Motion? Marty, thank you. Second, Joyce? All in favor? No opposed, 7-0. And that takes us to the personnel actions, instructional. First, 5A, need a motion to approve the following instructional staff as outlined on the agenda. Fairly robust list. If I can get a motion to approve. Marty, second, Jan. Thank you. Questions, comments, special, or anything in here beyond retirees are things that need to be recognized?
Seeing 2026 is a little shocking.
Seeing what?
The year 2026.
Oh, yes. You're right. So that's the one we want to.
We also have an administrative position here that will be, the board will be I'm recommending to appoint Sarah Klosner as Director of Special Education for K-5. You'll see that she's here in the audience, excited to be a part of our team. She's been at Dudley as an assistant principal for how many years, Sarah? 2 years, and now you're looking to move along and make important contributions in special education.
Yes, congrats.
I think we can only go forward, though, if you will promise to rock the Dudley Dragon outfit every once in a while.
It was tough. It was.
Oh, there's a Dudley Dragon outfit, and Sarah is a champion. The kids love it. At every celebration, it's...
That was you?
Speaking as a mom of Dudley, though, I know Eleanor is going to be brokenhearted next year, but so excited for you, and thank you for everything.
Indeed, thank you. So all in favor? No opposed, 7-0. Congratulations, Sarah, thank you. You only waited 70 minutes since the start of this meeting, right?
You lost your
Right,
kids.
I'm sorry. And next is the non-instructional and civil service action items. A motion to approve those as outlined in the agenda. Don't everybody jump at once. Joyce, thank you. Erica, second. Questions, comments here? Other?
I have something to say.
Yes, please.
No, it's not for me, but I'd like to recognize Lindsay Reddick, who will be our Director or Communications Specialist here and by July 1st, if the board does approve this. But Lindsay's been behind all the bright spots. She's been on the uptick of all the communication, and really appreciate her investment and looking forward to working with her in a full-time capacity.
No other comments? All in favor? None opposed, 7-0. Now, congratulations, right? C, 5C, athletics. Appreciate Mr. Killian for being well on top of this ahead of time. Motion to approve the athletic staff as outlined. Jan first, thank you. Erica second. Comments, questions? Seeing, hearing none, all in favor? 7-0. 5D, we have agreement here, a motion to approve the agreement between the district and the Fairport School Office Professional Association. Erica, thank you all. Mary Caitlin, second. Questions, comments? Okay. All in favor? Seeing none opposed, or 7-0, thank you. And thank you to our staff and the negotiation efforts over the year for that. Thank you very much, Doug and Steve. Multiple things for those not covered by bargaining units here, E through I think most of the end, but first, motion to approve the salaries of personnel not covered. We have to do these as separate items. Erica, thank you. A second. Marty? Questions or comments? No? All in favor? 7-0. F is the related benefits to those contracts. Motion to approve. Marty, thank you. Joyce, second. Questions or comments? No? All in favor? 7-0. 5G, starting salaries for those not covered. Adjustments there. Need a motion to approve these new starting salaries. Mary Caitlin, thank you. Erica, second. Thank you. All in favor? 7-0. Make sure I don't lose track. Sorry, 5H. For our managerial administrative personnel, salaries for the next year. Need a motion to approve those. Erica, thank you. All set. Marty, thank you. A second. All in favor? 7-0. I, benefits related to those same contracts. A motion to approve. I'll make the motion. Need a second. Erica, thank you. All in favor? 7-0. Yes. Very good. 7-0. And then a motion to accept a written agreement between the superintendent of schools and a certain employee.
So moved.
Erica, thank you. Second. Mary Caitlin. Not appropriate to have comments here in this case. If we need to, we can enter an executive session. Otherwise, all in favor? 7-0. Thank you. And then a memorandum of agreement between the district and our Fairport Administrators Association.
So moved.
Erica, Jan, second. Thank you. Questions, comments? No, all in favor? 7-0. And another memorandum of agreement with FSAPA. We will have a similar with SSP, but they're all separate, so it's a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Erica. Marty, second. All in favor? And then finally with the SSP, is there a way to say that like we do FSAPA or no? Anyway, motion to approve? Okay, Marty, Jan has second. All in favor? Very good, thank you, 7-0. Long list, appreciate it, but again, reminded of all the things that we've celebrated. Those types of things are what make it possible. And so glad for all the deliberation efforts that have gone into it. And Sarah was really excited about what's coming up here for our capital improvement project, the presentation, the continued progress, and what's next. So
Here you go, Kevin. Thank you for
Kevin.
coming up and giving
So-
another presentation on our progress.
Damon, because I don't want to leave you without the answer, it's Standard & Poor's last rating was AA, which is a very strong capacity to repay.
There you go. I feel better.
okay, Kevin, it's all yours.
Good evening. Alrighty, so tonight's presentation is on the capital improvement project, and this captures the work completed in the month of May. There we go. So here is our overall financial slide. We won't run through each line here, but this just breaks up the different components that create that overall referendum value there, 56,750. So a closer look into the financials. Currently, we have processed just over $785,000 in change orders, leaving us 2.6 left in our contingency budget, and we currently still have 472,000 in contract allowances.
Kevin, put you on the spot here if you know, right? Tough to do construction during the school year. We're 26% done. If you had to guess, where might we be by September? Will that accelerate over the summer?
We will probably see that change order amount increase over the summer months, just with the work that we're going to be getting into, especially with 1B opening up some new spaces there. But overall, where we stand financially right now is very good, considering how far we've gotten through the unknowns of the high school, getting through the multi-purpose field, starting to lay down turf there, the cafeteria. The science rooms really aren't running into anything too crazy. So overall, I still feel that we're in a very good financial spot.
Any unknowns with B that you think could be potential, or are we just the bigger unknowns have been the areas we've already addressed?
That's really the areas we've already, the biggest two being the cafeteria and the multi-purpose field. The biggest thing we might run into in a classroom is maybe some unforeseen abatement of some sort. But so far, the classrooms we've made it through, it's been very accurate to the documents.
Great, thank you.
So just to add, because so part of the first question, as we see the summer coming, Kevin, the project itself being about 26% complete, as we push through the summer, how much do we think that percentage could rise as we push through the summer of the construction work itself, not the change order pieces? So that's the first one. And then to answer B, as we look at some of the potential unknowns with B, we do have the reconstruction of the site over at Jefferson Ave, where we're reconstructing the bus loop over there and moving some, a lot of earthwork happening over there. So that's kind of the big piece as we look at the unknowns where potential change order work could be seen, depending on what the ground shows us as that pavement is torn up. So that's probably one of the bigger pieces.
Yep.
Over there as well. We do have some abatement taking place in classrooms, where a lot of the mechanical work, HVAC mechanical work is taking place in some of the buildings. But with that, Kevin, if you kind of jump to the progress itself of the project, obviously, like Mr. Forsgren mentioned, school year, and we've done quite a bit, and especially at the high school and even some of the other buildings. But as summer hits, there's a lot of things that are going to be pushing forth in these next couple of months. Before September. So if you were to guess,
I would say we'd probably be somewhere between 35 to a little over 40% complete.
Do we hear 50?
I was hoping for a 50, but it is what it is.
Trying to be conservative. I'm hoping it's a very successful summer as well, but.
Peter, if I remember correctly, you wanted this done last year.
Yeah.
A few other things as well, but yes, okay. State laws don't allow go as fast as we like.
It certainly makes it a little challenging through the school years, but the summer is definitely the time where we try to roll up our sleeves and get as much as we can possibly get done. But with the understanding of there's always
cafeteria will be ready to go in the fall.
Yes, yep, we will have that ready.
There's a lot of excitement about that cafeteria. So.
Someone mentioned that earlier. Yeah. So a look ahead at all the projects going on right now, work going on this summer, starting over here at the high school. We're going to begin starting to see some of the new kitchen equipment arriving and finishes going in there along with the boilers. We've started the demolition in that area. And then up on the second floor, the current classrooms we're hoping to be wrapping up with finishes. We had our casework delivered earlier this week, and then over at or out on the site, we've begun starting the installation of the multi-purpose field turf, and we'll start to see that infill process going in. At the high school, the finishes projects, we've begun installing the terrazzo on the east side of the cafeteria, and once we're completed there with the grinding work, they'll be moving over to the west side, duplicating that process, getting that finished floor in there. And then over the summer, we're hoping to complete some of the corridor wall tile installs. And then for phase 1B over at Martha Brown, completing the drywall work in the bathrooms, joint pairing. We're wrapping up the ceiling grid in there. Finishes are going on. Casework's being installed. And then at Jefferson Ave, as Matt mentioned, we'll be starting the bus loop reconstruction this summer. So just an overall look at phase 1A, the big ticket items. Again, we're going to be continuing that science room wing renovation through this summer. It'll take us into the school year. Cafeteria and kitchen, we'll be continuing that, getting that wrapped up for use come September, along with the multi-purpose field and boiler room. And then we have our gymnasium work slated for the final summer of 23. And the high school finishes. We're currently working on the terrazzo in the cafeteria currently. We are also lining up the terrazzo for the first floor corridor and then the second floor science wing for the final summer of 23. And then phase 1B, we have begun construction at a couple of buildings and areas that we can get into. Martha Brown, we've started some work at Minerva DeLand, Jefferson Ave, but again, that big work starting once everyone's out for the bus loop reconstruction. A lot of similar work across the buildings, heavy focus on boiler room renovation work, fire alarm improvements, and secure entrances as well. And then for our Smart Schools project, our controls contractor's been making his way through the buildings very well through these the first phase of buildings. We did hit a small snag with some door hardware delays. We're currently tracking those to be arriving the first shipment July 30th, with the second shipment coming in mid-September. But as we're waiting for that door hardware, he's continuing with the behind-the-scenes work, the backbone of the access control system for each building, and then getting around with camera installs. And here's a look at the cafeteria terrazzo, going in and all polished up. And they have moved over to the east side of the cafeteria. And then here's a look at the dishwasher, set in place, still needs to be assembled. And here's a shot at some of the boiler demolition going on.
I know.
So boiler demolition, meaning you're cutting it up, tearing it apart, and hauling it away? Is that...
Decommissioning it and, yeah, chopping up just to get it out of the doorway there. And, yeah, we did have to wait until SED no longer requires heat in the building, which was the end of May. So once
Pretty sure today
that happened,
yeah.
I think we're out of the woods, yeah. But along with the boiler demolition, the photo obviously doesn't do it justice, but there used to be a lot of pumps and piping over in this area of the boiler room that has since been removed.
How old was that boiler?
Yeah, over 50 years old. Hopping hopping up to the second floor. These are the chemistry rooms we're currently working on in the MEP rough-in. Again, we have gotten that casework delivered, so they're working on the finishes in this space. And then going out to the multi-purpose field, we've got our backstop fencing continuing.
So exciting.
And just another shot of the fencing going around there, along with the asphalt walkway.
Are we allowed to walk there or no? If I have my hard hat on?
I'll take you.
I know, I want to see it.
Just don't get caught.
I won't get caught. I'll go at night. No. I'm kidding.
And here's some of the stone subbase going in on the field. And just a better shot of that. And you can kind of see on the right side of the photo, that is the flat drains that are below the stone, collecting the water off of the field, and then it transfers over to the perimeter where we have perimeter piping going around the field, taking that water away. And then over to our 1B, here's Jefferson Ave, again, beginning the boiler room demolition. And And here's a look at more some finish work over at the JP nurse's office.
Did you take a wall out there too? It looks much larger.
No.
I think they're using the space differently, and they reconfigured, some of the office space in front of it, but no walls were taken down. But it does. You're 100%. It's open. It's open.
And here's a look over at Martha Brown's boiler room demo. And then the toilet room.
Did not appreciate till we had the tour last month how manually intensive it is putting terrazzo in.
It's a lot more than what meets the eye with the finished product, at least for sure. Yeah. And then here's our multi-purpose. Are there any questions?
Once again, the team's just been amazing. The communication, the responsiveness from the architects and from the construction management team and all the subcontract. It's been great, and I appreciate the communication with Bob and his team. You know, they've had the largest scope, and I know that you'll continue that with the other buildings as we move along. Thank you.
Thank you.
Troy and Kevin, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Hey, Bob. When you went to administrative school, did they teach you how to be a capital improvement project manager? Okay. Oh. All right, okay. Okay, all right, good, good. Gave you some good, yeah.
Thank you. You need a break? Does anybody else need a break? Do we want a break? We're not voting, so we're going to continue on, Daniel. We do have in discussion item only an equity and education policy. We currently don't have a policy, so there's no policy number associated with it, but there was desire to have a little bit further discussion around this policy. I believe this came out partly while I was, again, out of the country. I've read through it, though, and appreciate the angle or what's trying to be done here.
The beginnings of this started in our diversity council, and there was a subgroup, data on policy, who looked and reviewed at multiple policies that are evolving throughout the state and even throughout the nation. The board has been looking at it at different iterations. Right now, we're sitting with it. We're getting our legal to look at it very carefully to make sure that what we have in place and the big ideas and concepts behind it are going to work for our district. We're excited about implementing it very soon. I'm going to have a discussion by myself.
Did you want to pull it up or no?
Oh, sorry.
You don't.
In lieu of some of the comments that were shared, I appreciate like the we recognize section. Have realized in my experience, at least on the school board, was that regardless of personal beliefs of mine or anybody else's, the intent of the school district is to educate each and every child. To do so is tough in an environment where someone does feel bullied or not accepted, where they cannot be who they feel like they are. And so regardless of my beliefs or anybody else, not trying to point out anybody, so I'll just use myself, it's to create that environment where they do feel safe. Right? I can manage my beliefs in other avenues, but in the school here itself, to create that environment where they walk through the door, I would hope breathe a sigh of relief if they're feeling vulnerable elsewhere, but here that they do not. Whoever, every child, each child, that's part of our, I guess I don't want to say motto, but vision and mission, that every child and each child. So I'm glad we have a recognition that's an abnormal, I think, part of policy, right? But it kind of tells the intent of why we're developing this.
Yeah, I wish Tim was still here. I think he was our first speaker. So we could see what this looks like. I like the definitions. I think we've talked about that as well. I think a lot of times, and we've talked about this in policy meetings and other meetings, just that a lot of times, I don't want to say disagreements, but conversations are confusing based on what people may think a certain term means. So I like that there's definitions, hopefully to somewhat clarify what we're talking about here.
And I think an important aspect of those definitions is the fact that we're going to be cohesive with this policy, with our updated code of conduct, with our strategic plan, that this is what this really means. So I think one thing that's really particularly important to me, a lot of people, when they talk about equity, think we're just changing the rules and making things easier for people. But if you scroll down, just to the second page. So the second bullet, raising the achievement of each student to their highest potential. So equity is never about lowering the bar so that everybody can join. Equity is about that first bullet, eliminating the predictability and disproportionality. So we're always going to have kids that have a tough time in school. Things come up in individual lives. But right now, we can look at a certain student and look at certain aspects of them and pretty accurately predict what's going to happen in the education systems that we have in place right now. Equity work is meant so that I can't look at a kid or know about their background and pretty accurately predict what's going to happen. We're going to get rid of that predictability and disproportionality. And we're going to change our systems so that we raise the achievement of each student. That's the expectation. And then if you'd go down to the definition for equity. So giving what they need for equal access to opportunities and the resources to be successful in those opportunities. So that's also key for me in particular. We're not just opening doors. We're not just saying like a student, any student can now do X, Y, and Z. We're saying every student has equal access, and we will give you the resources and support to flourish in those aspects. And I have to give Nicole Haynes and RCSD credit for that flourish aspect, because she has really opened my mind that equity is not just about existing, it's about flourishing and being successful, however an individual defines success. So I am very excited about this policy.
I appreciate two things I want to point out, and had again an impact on me, helping me see, or at least speaking to me in the way I do things. I am a co-owner of a data company, and so that is powerful for those who are more math oriented, right? That indeed we are able to predict with fairly good certainty across this country, perhaps around the world, what the likely outcome is for certain students, socioeconomic or background, whatever it might be. And you said we're going to get rid of that. Now, I appreciate that. That doesn't mean by the time we approve this policy, right? That is the work.
No,
that's the work.
By the time the policy.
Yeah, I don't want to be a downer, but good luck with that, right? But that is the work that we want to arrive. We'll know we've arrived when we no longer can predict the outcome for anyone, that they indeed are able to reach their highest potential. They choose the route they want to take. There is no predictability to it. They are truly in control of their lives because they've had a safe and wonderful environment. So I appreciate that as a person who thinks more in ones and zeros and data. I'm not a programmer, but just Excel spreadsheets and whatnot. The second is that you said to start with the Diversity Council. As I recall, at the beginning of the year, we had over 100 people asked to be a part of it. None were turned away, right? So, and there were of all persuasions, if you will, of beliefs, some of which were brought up tonight. People weren't in favor, but they had part on the Diversity Council should they chose to show up at the meetings, right, or whatever. So nobody was turned away. Anybody of any belief system or whatever it might be was able to participate. And so this is coming out of a year-long effort of the Diversity Council, which has existed longer than that year-long, but that's been part of it. So the Code of Conduct is also part of it, and other things that have been done this year. So a lot of accomplishments with our Diversity Council.
I hope we can get the legal part straightened out soon so that we can get this on the books, because I think it's critical that we have this policy. It's taken us a long time, but that's because we were careful with it, and it's gone through a lot of hands and all of that. But the policy committee is at the point now where we're really eager to get it in the policy.
It's being processed right now at
I know,
SCD,
I
right?
know.
Which
I'm
is
glad that we're doing that, because we don't want to, approve of something and then find out there's a legal problem with any of it. So we have to that's why it's taken so long, because we want it to be clean and correct. But I'm eager to get it in and approved.
Are you comfortable
After
just
all
for
these years of work, I've been on the Diversity Council 2 years and the Policy Committee, and, I've read lots of these policies from other districts. So we're just right near the finish line.
Are you comfortable sharing what those areas are? You mean for legal review? You say legal, but SED, is that legal or?
So there's one piece that I have zoomed up here as best as I can with the technology, differentiating resource allocation, right, to provide each student equitable access to curriculum, facilities, co-curricular and extracurricular activities, and enrichment opportunities, which pretty much means is, making sure that kids have access. Everyone has different levels of resource. For example, transportation is sometimes a challenge for some of our students, and we need to make sure, since we're putting this in policy, when we regulate it, that it works within all the nuance of transportation law from SED. So that's what's being processed right now.
And so to this point then, right, because the confusion between equality and equity shows up here. Our difference is equity. There's individuals, they need different resources, right? And so it's allocating the resources that are needed. We're a public school. We're not trying to say everybody gets the same. We're going to treat you all 100% the same because you're all the same. We want you to turn out exactly the same.
It's
Yeah.
once
But
they,
there are barriers
Yes.
to
But
us,
there are
legal
challenges,
barriers.
right?
So
Yeah.
that's, and I will suggest that this also goes to Monroe County School Boards as an advocacy piece. When we're talking to our legislators, we need to bring this forward and explain to them how critically important it is that those barriers are removed.
because equity doesn't mean much if you can't, once you give a child access, the opportunity to allocate resources accordingly to support their range of needs. And transportation is one of them.
Right. Okay.
Does that help, Pete? That's the one that.
Yeah, but that's the main one, right? Legally concerned about are some of the restrictions that we have in transportation.
Correct.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Anything else?
Just a really small thing. I was looking at the K-12 and I was thinking how great it would be that expands to pre-K if we were to have universal. So maybe that will be one of the first changes in the next
Good point.
several years. So we can hope.
Nothing else? No, that's great.
Okay.
Do you have others? No, go ahead.
No, there's like this one little thing. So, and so I love how that first line under we believe it's their skin, their gender, their sexual orientation, and everyone is there except the language they speak. And it's just a linguistic thing that I would love for if they were all theirs, but that's their home language, their personal language. Because I just I love repetition.
Yep. Just good eye.
That's all I have.
Sounds like a baseball term. Good eye, Jen.
Good eye.
Nothing else, we'll move on, get back to the agenda here, because that was just discussion, but under discussion and action items, we do have policy first reads with 2 policies there. Excuse me. Motion to approve these as a first read. Anybody from the policy committee? No? Erica?
yeah,
Oh,
I
sorry,
mean-
gotta look to my
Oh, I
right.
was gonna say so moved, but we can, do we want to talk about it?
Well, so let's get a motion first and second. And second, Erica. If you have a discussion, you want to talk about one of them?
I don't think we have to have a huge discussion, but I think Mary Caitlin and I were both on the Code of Conduct Committee and trying to align and make sure that the policies match what is in the Code of Conduct. So this is kind of an example of where we are trying to make sure they're consistent. And I think a lot of time and conversation and thought went into it.
Questions or comments about the red line versions being shown here? Okay, all in favor? We will see these again as a second read. Field trip requests, multiple field trips, especially summer. What's that? No, they're together. Sorry. So 8B, motion to approve the field trips. Marty, thank you. Second. Joyce, questions, comments about these? All in favor? 7-0. Yes,
Doesn't
sir.
that feel good? Field trips are back.
Yeah.
Right? I think that rounds out the experience. Yes, a
Love
lot
the
of
summer ones, yeah.
summer programs for many of our students. Thank you for supporting. Sorry.
If the world languages needs an extra chaperone.
I know, I was looking at that one.
For Spain, let us know. We can help.
Mm-hmm.
You might be busy.
Yeah, right?
So my daughter made it through the lottery on that one. She's pretty excited about that trip, but the parents did not. So. Right. But also exciting. I do love when we see students wanting different clubs and saying, let's get a club. So here's one, an approval for a new club. PAWS, People Animal Welfare Society. Motion to approve this club. Marty, thank you. Second, Jan. Questions or comments? All in favor? 7-0. A donation that wish to remain anonymous, but thank you if they may be watching. Appreciate this this scholarship donation of $1,000. So a motion to accept the donation. Erica, thank you. Second, Mary Caitlin. All in favor? Appreciate that. Our strength and conditioning agreement with Next Level. Motion to approve this agreement. I'll make, Erica, go ahead. I'll second that. So Erica first, I'll second it. Questions or comments about this agreement? Any further? No? All in favor? 7-0. Rental agreement between the school district and FEA. Motion to approve that agreement. Marty, thank you. Second, Mary Caitlin. All in favor? Oh, never mind. We do have a comment. Yes.
Discussion, I mean, with inflation going up, have we thought about raising that $2 a year?
I've asked,
Okay.
but why? So that's been the response. Are you serious, Forsgren? Mm-hmm. Yes, but anyway. All in favor? 7-0. Athletic Training Services Agreement with the U of R. Motion to approve. Erica?
Yep.
Thank you. Second, Marty? All in favor? 7-0.
So you're in action. That's good.
Motion to approve the claims auditor reports. These were reviewed by the Audit Finance Committee. So I'll make a motion to approve those. Who's second? Mary Caitlin? Questions, comments? No. All in favor? Thank you. And a motion to approve our school food service budget for 2022-2023. Motion to approve. Mary Caitlin, thank you. Second, Joyce. Questions or comments?
We talked about this at length during our Finance and Audit Committee last week. It's difficult what our food services is going through, and I can't commend them enough for the pieces they are able to put together for our kids every day and the difficulties they've faced and the raising costs that they've faced. So there is a minimal increase for breakfast and lunch next year. We are still right in the middle of Monroe County in terms of our offerings. We have not raised it in 7 years. And it's just a very minimal increase, but I would like to encourage everyone to please reach out to your congresspeople. I know I do often with our congresspeople to encourage them to continue to federally support breakfasts and lunches. I think as a nation, that's one thing we can do for our kids is to provide access to healthy meals while they're at school. So yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for everything.
This is where we saw a lot of the inflationary pressures. I think some areas, paper products was 174% increase in prices for us. So yeah, it's just incredible, some of the increases. And so ultimately ending the discussion, there was by some, I don't know, crotchety old person saying, is this the right time to be raising it with everybody, prices going up for everybody? But I think we ultimately said, yeah, we probably need to based on the inflationary pressures we're experiencing as well. So other questions or comments? All in favor? 7-0. Thank you. Congrats. You have a budget for next year. So we have a year-end fund balance analysis and use of reserves. You will, obviously the year has not been closed out, so you'll see language that keeps some of it fairly flexible to allow the changes in terms of ending of the year, but would like to approve that. And motion to approve, Mary Caitlin, thank you. Erica, second. Comments or questions about the recommendations here? Very good. All in favor? 7-0. We have BOCES initial service contract for the next school year. Need a motion to approve that contract. Jan, thank you. Second, Marty. Questions or comments? All in favor? 7-0. And then the internal audit risk assessment that was presented to the Audit Finance Committee last week as well. Motion to accept this. Mary Keelan, thank you. Second, Marty. As a comment, just to point out, I think one of the things that I did put in the notes, but I want to say it both to you again and publicly that, I don't have my notes in front of me, but this was the least amount of comments they've made perhaps ever to the district. Again, constantly improving, going in the right direction. I don't know if you can improve upon that one, Mr. Stevens, you're right. So high bar, but at least don't go the other direction. No pressure there.
No pressure.
But thank you once again for a very clean audit. Appreciate the hard and excellent work done there.
And I think one point of advocacy the auditors brought up and that we talked about at Finance and Audit is this came about, and so we've kind of done this every year and we do a different aspect and we've made a lot of changes. And so now we're getting to the point, and he shared that most schools in Monroe County are getting to this point where there's no comments because there's no significant concerns noted because we've all addressed a lot of the significant concerns out there. So is there a way to take this internal audit and move it to every other year for a different section, every third year, to allow it to be more thorough, because we could look at different aspects more deeply and to save costs to the districts. So if we're getting these consistent annual reports that there's no room for improvement in certain areas, how do we space it out a little bit better to help districts with funding? So for our legislative committee people, that might be a good one.
All right. Because it does represent an expense that now is not, we could use those monies elsewhere, or like you say, go deeper in some areas. Yep. Okay, thank you. All in favor? 7-0, bless you. And finally, an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Parrington, a motion to approve. Erica, thank you. Mary Caitlin, second. Questions, comments here? All in favor? 7-0. That takes us to the end. Open it up for any other board comments.
Well, I'm just going to start with another thank you to Damon. It has been so much fun working with you and challenging, and you brought levity to us. Never brevity, but lots of levity. I'll remember you for both of those. But you know, we just love you. Please keep in touch with us and keep coming to our meetings.
Sorry, your mic's not on, Joyce.
I love coffee too.
You what?
I love coffee too.
That's right.
Anyone else? Make sure your mic's on.
Will you be bringing us Dunkin' Donuts now? Should we send you our order for when you come?
10 minutes after the start.
Tonight, I got everybody water.
You did. It was great. No, we'll miss you a lot. So I'm hoping that you'll come monthly and do some public comments, or maybe join a committee. Hang out with Kevin.
We'll have our own posse up there. I'll miss you guys too. So
Thank you, Damon.
Same. Just a
my
big.
wife asked
Oh.
me tonight if I'm happy or if I'm sad. I said yes. Both.
Same, just a huge thank you. It's been wonderful working with you, and I've learned a lot. So I'm really grateful for everything you've done for our community.
I'm lucky to have you. And Janice and Brian too.
I have to say I was in, like, it kind of shocked me, or like it hit me today when somebody mentioned this was Damon's last meeting, and it like hit me, oh, I'm not serving on the board with him. And it's you know, it's obvious. I mean, here I ran and I have a seat on the board, and now I don't get to work with you, because you're a huge reason why I wanted to be on the board. And I shared this earlier, is I don't think any conversation, and even though there haven't been as many conversations as like everybody else, but I think every time you've spoken, there's what you say, is this right for our kids? Is this right for our kids? And it's always our kids. And I will remember that, and we will make sure that that is something that's not forgotten. So thank you. And I do really appreciate you have just been such a supporter and cheerleader, and I really thank you for that.
Awesome. I feel good stepping away knowing that you're coming.
Oh.
Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah.
And Caitlin and Brian, all you guys really. Awesome.
And look forward to welcoming Brian back up here as
Yeah.
official board member again. Thank you.
I just had a couple other things if I could jump in. So I want to give a huge shout out to our Dudley Dragons. They had their one school fundraiser. They did their Dudley Dragon run, and my little person did 42 laps, which is just astounding to me. But they raised over $40,000 for Dudley, and it's just the amount of work that our PTA puts into that, and our teachers, and full day event. And they also had their field days a couple of days ago, so they are just living it up over at Dudley, living their best tiny lives.
Can I say one thing about
Yeah.
that? I have a little fella in my neighborhood, a little young lady, event, and you could do so much per lap or a flat rate.
Do the
I went flat rate.
Do the flat.
Because
I'm new at this. I didn't know.
I know they can just go around. I couldn't afford it. So.
I didn't know. They do cap it at 35 laps though, because I got that email and I was like, wait, it said 30 to 35, Eleanor, and she goes, I did 42, and I was like, wait a sec. I didn't know this was open ended here. Another amazing thing was Joyce and I were able to visit transportation and buildings and ground, and get to kind of walk around and see all of our different systems going on in the different areas and the different ways we are just, you think about all of our teachers and all they do every day, and then all of the pieces to make everything possible for the students and the teachers and the community to function. It just kind of blows you away as you're learning all the different things that have to be maintained, and I don't know, parts of school buildings that I don't generally think about with our buildings and grounds. And then the honors award for the high school, as well as dollars for scholars. What a wonderful evening, 2 hours of just showering students with amazing achievements and hearing about students who want to go into education. That was very heartwarming, so it was exciting. And that's it.
Stay strong the rest of the week. I know our elementary schools will still be going. So I know we were looking at the video of the waving, but don't forget they're still going. So everybody at those buildings, good luck.
Any reports from Denver?
From Denver?
I mean, come on.
Sure. I just got back from putting on a conference on more like disability awareness, finding jobs for people with disabilities. It was the first in-person conference that we've put on in a number of years, and I had the great honor of doing a keynote panel discussion with activists that have made some really amazing progress in terms of disability rights, transportation, and things that I think we often forget about. So I'll share the video. Pretty exciting.
Thank you.
The world traveler.
I keep track of you guys.
Yeah. Well, with that, I do finally have your card, Damon. They left me no room on the inside, so I had to write myself on the back. But right. Again, thank you so much. It's been wonderful. Appreciate it. We do need one last vote from you at least, or a couple, right, to enter into executive session, to get out and then adjourn. So 3 more votes. Not that we're counting, but a motion to enter into executive session. Second, Damon, thank you. There's not an intent to make any decisions afterwards, so when we do reconvene into a public session, we will also adjourn shortly thereafter. Thank you, everybody. Oh, all in favor? Yeah, 7-0.